apparently the 49ers might be interested in trading for Zac Wilson, and apparently would only take around a 7th round pick. Now, I do expect that whoever trades for Zac Wilson will have to give up almost nothing. I do anticipate that is probably very accurate. At this point, it looks like the Jets might have to just release him. So it definitely would make sense given up. I mean, if we look at what the 49ers got for Trey Lance, the Patriots got for Mac Jones, we can definitely, and just the Bears right now from the Steelers, like it feels like that COVID year, all those quarterbacks not going for much. And then Zac Wilson arguably has played the worst with the most opportunity to kind of show some talent out of all of these guys. So it definitely would make sense that whatever team might be interested in him could give up very little to get him. I just think that the 49ers getting him makes absolutely no sense unless we're just talking about that pre-draft. It seemed like Kyle Shanahan was very high on Zac Wilson. I know Chris Sims is, very buddy with Kyle Shanahan, and he was very high on Zac Wilson and thought that Kyle was, or maybe let on that Kyle was, even more so interested in Zac Wilson than Trey Lance. I think there was rumors that if Kyle could draft Zac Wilson above of Trevor Lawrence, he would have done something like that. Stuff like that never really makes sense to me. They let Kinlaw go, and they obviously thought highly of Kinlaw before the draft. There's been time to watch this guy play. So I imagine that Kyle's stance on Zac Wilson would have changed, but the rumor is out there. So I thought I would ask you, do you think that there's any weight to a rumor like that? And would you be for it? And do you think Kyle Shanahan would be for it?
As far as do I think it's true? I don't know. I haven't seen anyone else really back up, that report. And that report came from Vincent Frank, who, he's been around for a while. I'm not going to say whether I think it's true or not. I don't think that's very relevant, but it could certainly be true. And I think, if we want to talk about that, I mean, I think just based on the interest that there was, I mean, look, we just saw the 49ers have Sam Darnold. I almost already forgot his name. Sam Darnold this past season, also based on being a draft crush and
right
kind of being almost a project for Kyle, a fun project to work on. It's like, I have a car that I like and it gets me from point A to point B, and it's done me a really good job. But I also, I have this car that, I bought, for very cheap, and I'm gonna just see what I can do with it. That's kind of how Kyle Shanahan thinks about the
quarterbacks.
Like he already knows he has Brock Purdy, so he doesn't really have to worry about anything there.
Yeah, like he's like, this is a backup. Like,
yeah, exactly. They have Brandon Allen as well, who I think is going to be the number 2. But if you can get someone like Zac Wilson for 1 year, kind of I don't know what the good word for it is. Repair his image, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word. I think teams would potentially maybe be interested. I mean, I didn't think anyone would be interested in Sam Darnold after he did basically nothing for the 49ers, aside from going
I don't understand
fourth quarters, I guess.
Lost to the Rams, third string players, but
So I guess that's enough to warrant getting interest. And now the 49ers, I think they can get a comp pick for Sam Darnold, right? So why not try and roll the dice for another quarterback like Zac Wilson? What would it hurt, right?
Can I poke some holes in this? Because I am strongly against the 49ers bringing in Zac Wilson. First of all, he can't throw a 5-yard pass. And I think that the kind of quarterback that Kyle Shanahan likes, even though he does like these reclamation projects, I think he just wants a guy who can execute his system. And it's been shown that even with the most easy offensive plan that Zac Wilson cannot just like distribute the ball where it needs to go. He also, even though has some should have some physicality and ability to be mobile, he's tended to sack himself quite a lot whenever we have seen him in games. So it's not like Purdy, who can kind of work with the offensive line that the 49ers have. So even if he's not under pressure, Zac Wilson throws a 5-yard jump off pass 20 yards down the field and to the wrong side for some reason. And then if you add in under pressure, it's even worse. So I feel like Kyle Shanahan would just get frustrated. Second of all, they did give away Trey Lance because they said that they, and I know bringing him up is controversial, but because they said they didn't have time for a project, and what they wanted was seemingly like a veteran style guy where if the starting quarterback went down, you just have someone who can come in, execute a really like Kyle, Jimmy Gimme, for lack of a better word, like style offense. Like, we're not going to make this difficult. Just don't throw the ball to the other team. Don't give the game away. We're going to try to make this as easy as possible while our starter is out. Just get us through. And I feel like when you take a chance on a guy like Zac Wilson, it's much like the Trey Lance thing, where the upside of these quarterbacks is like this, star quarterback, but that's not what they're asking for. And that's not the time that they want to put into a guy like this. If you're a rebuilding franchise and you don't mind, losing or something, maybe that's fine. Also, with their backups, with a guy like Purdy, I think the reason that they re-signed Allen, I think if we're actually honest with ourselves, maybe a reason that they brought in Sam Darnold was just the guy in the room. If you go back to Sam Darnold's introductory press conference when they signed him last offseason, I think reporters asked him, because at the time Purdy was still in a sling, and reporters asked him about being the starting quarterback, and he had a very I want to come in and do my job, and if the team needs me to step in and start, I'm going to do that, but this is Purdy's team and I'm here to empower Brock Purdy, and I'm here to help him with the game plan, help explaining things to him. I think that that's kind of what maybe Brandon Allen also brings, and I feel like that's the type of guy that they should be bringing into this quarterback room. It should be a veteran that can make the easy throws and that knows his place in this team. Zac Wilson, aside from physically being incapable of throwing a fucking football, has just seemingly been really disliked by all of his teammates, and it seems like the one of the best parts of this 49ers team, and the reason they've been able to make it, kind of to the hump, not make it all the way over, but then still have the wherewithal to keep going and keep trying, is their belief in each other, in this brotherhood that may or may not be exaggerated in most NFL teams. It seems to be really real with the 49ers. And I feel like a guy like Zac Wilson just doesn't have that camaraderie that they should be looking for in a backup quarterback. I would go for a veteran guy. I would love if you have any people in mind, but I think a strong veteran guy, or even if they do want to look towards the draft, just a guy who, let Brian Griese try to do his work that he did with Zac Wilson is on my mind now, with Brock Purdy. Obviously, I don't anticipate finding the next Brock Purdy, but just a guy who kind of knows his place and will embrace that backup role in the 49ers is what I would want to look for. And it just feels like Zac Wilson isn't there right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I think all you said is true. I think the 49ers already have their backup quarterback in Brandon Allen. And
but Brandon Allen can't win. Can Brandon Allen win a couple games? I think he's good at
that. I mean, he was Joe Burrow's backup.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they like him, so
got rid of him, right? Who'd they replace him with? The Bengals got rid of him.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's a veteran. Like you described, a veteran.
Yeah.
A guy who can come in. And yeah, I mean, I think Brandon Allen fits that for the 49ers. This would now be his second year being on the team. So I think that, he would know the system. be in it for a second season. I would expect Brandon Allen to be the backup quarterback and not think twice about it. This overthinking of quarterbacks only came from the Jimmy Garoppolo era because he could never stay healthy. Like I'm really hoping that's not a thing for Brock Purdy, right?
doesn't even
Ever
matter.
since last season, it didn't matter. We were all like up in arms about Sam Darnold being on the team. It didn't matter. It ended up being so insignificant. And I would see this potential move for Zac Wilson to be along those same lines, being so insignificant. At the very least, for the 49ers, they could potentially get a comp pick back. Why not? But I don't see it happening. But I guess like it, I don't know, it wouldn't exactly shock me, I guess, if they did it, and I don't think it'd be that big of a deal if they did it either.
Okay, I like this. I feel like you're doing good at walking me off the ledge. Now, so you're open to Zac Wilson being on the team, but do you think that trading a late round pick for him is necessary, or do you think that the Jets are just going to cut him? And if it's not a big deal to have Brandon Allen as the backup, wouldn't it just be better for the 49ers to be like, we're not going to put resources into this. If he gets let go, then we'll look into just, signing him, but trading for him, like actually
trading for him I think would be a bit much, unless they did view him as more of a backup or wanting to be a backup or bring him in as competition, right? And because he was drafted pretty high, I mean his contract would be pretty comparable to that of Trey Lance's, right? It'd probably be a little bit more. So yeah, financially it wouldn't make sense from the trade standpoint. But if he were to be released, I mean, yeah, why not?
Okay. So Steph and I are on different sides. I'm kind of like a hard no, but I like you walking me off the
it's
ledge.
not that like I don't care for it. It's not like I'm asking for them to sign him, like
I just feel like they
I'm
might
just
have
like-
a better chance at finding a long-term backup if they do look in the draft, potentially.
And if they brought in Zac Wilson, that would not keep them from bringing in a quarterback in the draft, I don't think, or through in a drafted free agent.
Oh, you think? Would they have them compete? You think?
It's not odd for them to go into camp with like 4 quarterbacks.
Okay, that's true.
And
That's
then
probably
that
might be interesting because then it's kind of like the best guy will just take the job, which would also make. I mean, I started this by saying there's never a lack of things to talk about. See, Steph is just in it for the topics. She's like, Ashley, come on. I'm going to be arguing with Rob about freaking Zac Wilson all off season, if you let me.
I think Rob can argue about a lot of things.
There we go. Okay, well, one more, I don't know, drama-y topic, but I seem to remember, was it an article or a quote by Parag where he called this current iteration of the 49ers, he praised their business acclimate. I don't know how to speak. He praised what the 49ers have been able to do with their business, and he referred to the Bill Walsh era as a lemonade stand and said that they were able to turn it around, which in general was an insane statement to make. But it's even more insane when now it's came out from, I saw this on Matt Mayoko's Twitter, and then Matt Barrows did a little bit of a breakdown when I was going through his tweets about it. But the 49ers are getting their 5th round pick taken away next year in their 4th. Is that correct? It's their 5th round next year and their 4th round this year? Or it might
their 4th round is not getting taken away, but it's getting what it was before, which I think was like, I don't remember the exact number, but now it's going to the end of the 4th round, like after all of the comp picks. Like, so yeah, it's getting pushed back. And then, next year's 5th, they lost.
So they are getting punished because in 2022, they had financial errors and errors reporting their finances to the league office, which I think is mostly just embarrassing. Now, they did come out with a statement on the like official 49ers website that said, they was nothing that they were trying to, get a competitive advantage. They didn't do anything with those resources that would have given them some sort of like step above other teams. It was more just an accidental error, which I don't know. I guess that's like better. You know what I mean? Because it's good to not like purposely try to be deceitful, but at the same time, it's almost like, well, if you're gonna make such a mistake and then get punished for it, at least like have it be, the Patriots made a lot of mistakes, but at least they got some Super Bowls out of it. Like the 49ers are like, oh, we are getting in trouble, and we also didn't take advantage of this and get any sort of step ahead. Do you know exactly what's going on with the 49ers front office? And by the way, for anyone who thinks that this is something that's going on this offseason or last season, it's actually from 2022. So a bit behind that they're getting punished for it. But in that 2022 season, it looks like they did some financial reporting wrong and maybe misled the NFL when they were, turning in all their financial resources.
It's like the IRS, sometimes you're going to get audited and, they might find something that's just not right. No, I mean, I don't know
that
anything.
I talked about how I never did my
Oh my God, yes. You should probably get on that.
But since then I've done them. I just like didn't do it for a long time.
That's good because we don't want SWAT.
But now we're looking from the 49ers. I'm learning that apparently they can go back in the past and figure these things out. I don't know what to do about it. Now. I'm just crossing my fingers.
Okay, so honestly, I don't know anything about the details aside from what was reported about, what really went wrong. But I mean, by all accounts, it just seems like the 49ers weren't trying to circumvent anything. They weren't trying to, finagle the system or anything like that. It was just they did something wrong. If I had to guess, someone probably got fired for it. I don't know. But
is this like on Parag or it's like a lower level thing? You assume?
I mean, I'm sure their accounting team is vast, and Parag probably is not like the numbers pusher as far as like actually putting in numbers into the system or whatever platform they use to submit all that, so I'm sure there's someone underneath. But I don't want to speculate. I mean, I don't know. That'd be my guess.
Quick, for anyone who doesn't have Twitter, the statement that the 49ers put out themselves was very small. It just says, we take responsibility and accept the imposed discipline from the NFL due to a payroll error. At no time did we mislead or otherwise deceive the league or gain a competitive advantage in connection with the payroll mistake. So it sounds like more just like maybe they accidentally wrote down a number wrong or something, which, like I'm saying, is bad, but also it's like, I don't know, if you're gonna do that, maybe you should get an advantage. You know what I mean? If you're gonna evade taxes, you might as well like what was the thing that everyone did during the pandemic? Like not everyone, but like I don't know. I remember people said like rappers and stuff did this. They like took out a bunch of money and like traveled and stuff, and we're like, why is everyone in Tulum? Never mind. I don't know why I know about that, but yeah. Anyways, also going on with the 49ers, I thought I would talk to you. I know you have to go grab something in a minute, but I wanted to ask you, the 49ers this year on the books, they have hella cap space, and apparently this is all by the book and in line with what they should be doing, but they've made a lot of moves to open up a lot of cap space. They've done some restructures. I actually don't even think we've talked since they restructured guys like Hargrave and Kittle. I was originally just going to ask you, what do you think they're opening up all this cap space for? Is there another big move that's going on, or do you think it was just, I know they needed cap space to just sign their draft picks and make the even smaller moves in free agency. So I was kind of going to ask you what you thought their next move should be with this extra cap space. But maybe before even answering that question, I could just ask you if you wanted, since you and I haven't talked about it, to reflect were you pro making those restructures with the veterans that they did, or did you have any hesitations about that?
The Hargrave one is interesting, right? Because, this past season, you can argue that given how much he got, he maybe underperformed a little bit. Um, so, I mean, yeah, the 49ers are banking that he's going to be a guy who they want for, the next few seasons. So, um, yeah, I mean, as long as that falls into place, I think they'll be all right. But yeah, I think you do need money, not just for flexibility of wanting to make moves. You definitely don't want to feel like you're strapped down to, not be able to do anything. So I think it's smart to just open it up and see what they can do, especially before the draft. And yeah, you mentioned they do also need to make room by the draft as well for signing those picks. Not a whole lot is needed for that. But also, like, you want some money potentially to even roll into the season, right? So you can go into the season and have some flexibility in what you want to do. Maybe even a mid-season trade, right?
They
For
usually
someone.
do that, whether big
Exactly.
or
So
small. They usually, because
right.
it helps protect you in case you suffer an injury. Like, I think a lot of
Yeah.
times when people think of the midseason, they think of the big, like, Christian McCaffrey type trade. But it actually just, if you have a corner that gets injured and you don't have, now maybe your backup is playing, so you just need to bring someone in for third string. Like, just having a little bit of resources can come in handy as a safety net for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's smart, and I don't think it necessarily means a move for right now always. I think having it on the side for later and having that option is nice too. So I would expect some to roll into the season, and if not, roll it into next year.
I very much agree. Now, I wanted to ask you. Now, I really quick. I've already
Wait,
given this
wait, wait.
opinion. Oh, are
Wait.
you gonna?
The 49ers just signed Josh Dobbs.
Oh,
That's
hell yeah!
actually that's
Oh, I like
actually
that.
so we
I like
we
that.
were what we were
That
just talking
I
about,
feel like
right?
I was kind of saying like a guy like that. Ooh, I like that. I
That's
like that.
actually that's not bad, right? It's not bad.
Hmm.
Veteran,
He's the neuroscientist guy who did good
astronaut.
for a second. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He
So
and he
he's
did really good with the Vikings for a few games. I know that he kind of came crashing down because there was a lot of hype about him, and then it kind of went opposite. But I feel like that's like him, like a Minshew, like those guys are like, in my opinion, that's the perfect. Even my dad has talked about this a lot, and I know he's on a different team now, and I don't mean to bring him up because I think it's kind of buzzwordy, but even like a Jimmy Garoppolo, like these guys are like wonderful guys who maybe can't stay healthy or can't keep up good play consistently, but that you can rely on them to understand the game, understand what they're going to be asked to do, and perform from anywhere from like 1 to 3 games. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not anticipating always having like the everyone wants, everyone's like, well, Brock Purdy was the third string and came in and took you to the Super Bowl. And you're like, the reason that was a big deal is because the reason that was a big deal was because that never happens in the NFL. I think Steph is getting some food. She told me she ordered it. But I'm gonna add a little banner, Josh Dobbs. But I'm excited about this move. I feel like he did really well with the Vikings last year. Yeah.
I'm like I was so literally as we're going live, like I was doing a thumbnail for Zac Wilson, and now I got to do a new thumbnail for Josh Dobbs.
There we go. I know. Look at everyone. They were trying to psych us out with that.
But yeah, I'm with you. I like the move. I mean, obviously he's a very smart guy. It's interesting, right? Because he's had like a crazy Linsanity run in every team he was with last season. He was with the Browns first. Then he, and obviously that wasn't going to work out because they have Deshaun Watson.
Everyone was crushing the Browns because he ended up doing so well with the Vikings. People were like, "Oh, you idiots! Like, what did you do?"
Well, then he went to the Cardinals. Remember? So he played with the Cardinals. He did a pretty decent job.
Yeah. I remember.
He played against the Niners. He had a pretty good game. And Kyle loves to sign guys with the 49ers
who do well against him, right?
Always. So it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I think they feel like they can do something with him. Again, he's going to be a backup, or he's going to compete for the backup position. Poor Brandon Allen, like he's probably we'll see what happens. If look, if Josh Dobbs looks good, maybe you could even trade him, before the cut down to 53. I
Yeah.
don't know, or they keep 3, right? Because I think the 49ers kept 3 guys during the season. Remember, they put in the rule of the emergency quarterback. So having a 3rd guy, I think, is probably good. They want to do that. So yeah, this is a solid quarterback room.
He'd also be a great guy. Like, I'm sure he wants to be a starter, so maybe this isn't a thing that can happen. But if you could lock down a guy like that for like just to have him as your backup quarterback for multiple years to come, why isn't that happen for a team? Why hasn't he just stayed? Is it because he wants to be a starter, so he probably tries to keep going places? But yeah, right now it's just he's signed a one-year veteran deal. But I mean, I think a guy like him is like, to me, that's such a prototype of what you want in your backup quarterback. Really smart dude, a dude who seems really personable, that guys like. He does well in the locker room. Doesn't, maybe he wants to be a starter, but doesn't have that attitude of like, I'm going to come in here, try to steal your job or anything like that. Feels like he'll be very respectful. I love that move for the 49ers. And if something that, knock on so much wood, you don't want this to happen. But if Brock Purdy gets injured just for, a small amount of time, I imagine that Kyle Shanahan feels confident that he could coach a guy like Josh Dobbs, and with the great, players around him, that the 49ers could squeak out a couple games.
Yeah, I think it's a solid backup move. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot too. Okay, that's exciting. And people are saying, rather have Dobbs than Zac Wilson's. I see Dobbs
Me too.
has, zero draft capital, so that's good. I agree with that. I want QBs who have some upside in the right environment. 49ers media wanted Zac Wilson. Kind of interesting with that one. I didn't, but Bundy agrees with me though. He would rather have Dobbs. Neuro astronaut, which was a good take on me not knowing exactly what he did. And then really quickly, I wanted to address this one. I'm Italian. This isn't my fault. I have to talk with my hands. It's in my genetics. You guys should see my dad. I'm also always screaming. I think it's because I'm deaf in one ear, so I like literally can't hear myself. My friend, I wonder if she's watching, but I've been on and off at her house for quite some time. She actually got me headphones, and she said, or not headphones, but what is it, like when you can hear louder, better? Like old people have them?
Hearing aid?
She got me hearing aid. It looks just
Why?
like because I'm literally deaf in one ear. And she said I talk quieter with it because like I don't realize that I'm screaming all the time. But I also think I just always scream. Like my dad's natural chat, like we're just Italian, so his natural chatting is screaming, which is really funny because if we're having any sort of normal conversation, I never realize it. I'm like, oh, this is just how my dad talks. But if I feel like he's angry at me, I'm like, you're screaming. And he's like, this is just my voice. I'm like, no, you don't love me. So that was a little TMI for you guys. My dad's also sick right now, so everyone should say prayers for him. I called him today and he sounded like he was dying. But anyway, he's not actually. Right. That was a bit dramatic. He sounded like that. Like I'm just saying, he's always screaming. He was actually very like soft spoken. So, then anyone who's a QB working for that number spot is gonna do whatever it takes to get that spot. I like that there would be competition in that QB room. I feel like 49er fans are a little bit too obsessed with like QB controversy and competition. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think
we're just so used to that now. It's toxic.
I think the 49ers were right to kind of trade Trey Lance away and like have a guy and stick with him and empower him. I think that uniting a team around one guy is really important and has actually shown to be really fruitful for the organization. And this isn't even a Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch thing. This is like Steve Young and Joe Montana freaking 49er fans thing. So I'm not mad at anyone for saying that.